The sound echoes, a sharp, decisive crack that reverberates through the courtroom, a sound that commands attention and respect. It signals an ending, a finality that hangs heavy in the air, marking the conclusion of a legal battle, the culmination of arguments, evidence, and testimonies. For some, it brings relief, a vindication of truth. The gavel's strike can mean freedom, a new beginning, a chance to rebuild lives that were once in turmoil. For others, it is a hammer blow, shattering hope and leaving behind only despair. The same sound that liberates one can condemn another, casting a shadow over their future. The gavel rests in the hand of the judge, a symbol of power, a tool of justice. It represents the authority vested in the judiciary to interpret and apply the law. But what happens when the very instrument meant to uphold the law becomes a weapon against it? When the gavel, instead of being a beacon of justice, becomes an instrument of oppression? When the scales of justice are tipped, not by evidence or argument, but by prejudice, ambition, or fear? When decisions are influenced by factors outside the realm of fairness and impartiality? This is the story of those who have felt the weight of that injustice, who have been silenced, imprisoned, and broken by a system that promised them fairness but delivered only pain. Their lives, once filled with hope, are now marred by the scars of judicial overreach. It is a story of constitutional rights trampled, of due process denied, and of the human cost of judicial overreach. Each denied document represents a life altered, a dream deferred, a promise broken. We will journey into the heart of a system designed to protect, yet capable of profound harm. A system where the balance between order and liberty is constantly tested, and where the stakes are nothing less than the lives and freedoms of individuals. We will hear the voices of those who have been wronged, and we will grapple with the complexities of a system struggling to balance order and liberty. Their stories are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring quest for justice. This is a story that demands to be told, for it speaks to the very soul of our nation and the promise of equal justice for all. It is a call to action, a reminder that the pursuit of justice is a continuous journey, one that requires vigilance, courage, and an unwavering commitment to fairness. The courtroom is a stage, a solemn theater where the stakes are incredibly high, and the judge, draped in black robes, occupies a position of undeniable authority, a figure who embodies the law itself. Their words carry the weight of law, their decisions shaping destinies, altering the course of lives with a single stroke of the gavel. We expect them to be impartial arbiters, blind to personal prejudice, guided solely by the Constitution and the evidence before them. The blindfolded Lady Justice symbolizes this ideal of fairness and objectivity. But judges are human, susceptible to the same flaws and biases that afflict us all. They carry the weight of their own experiences, beliefs, and emotions into the courtroom. History is replete with examples of judges who have strayed from the path of justice, their rulings tainted by personal beliefs or political pressures. These decisions have often led to significant consequences, both legally and socially. These are not mere legal missteps, but profound betrayals of the public trust, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and eroded faith in the very institutions meant to protect us. The impact of such rulings can be felt for generations. Consider the case of Fred Korematsu, an American citizen of Japanese descent. His story is a poignant reminder of the fragility of justice in times of fear and uncertainty. In the wake of Pearl Harbor, fear and suspicion gripped the nation. The attack on American soil created an atmosphere of paranoia and distrust, particularly towards Japanese Americans. President Roosevelt, succumbing to wartime hysteria, signed Executive Order 9066, authorizing the forced relocation and internment of Japanese Americans. This decision was driven by a misguided belief in national security over individual rights. Korematsu refused to comply, arguing that the order violated his constitutional rights. He stood firm in his belief that the internment was unjust and discriminatory. His case made its way to the Supreme Court, where, in a devastating blow to justice, the court upheld the government's actions. This ruling was a stark example of how fear can override the principles of justice. Justice Hugo Black, writing for the majority, argued that the need to protect against espionage outweighed Korematsu's individual rights. This decision has since been widely criticized as a grave injustice, a dark chapter in American legal history. Today, we strive to learn from these past mistakes. The judiciary continues to evolve, with a growing emphasis on diversity and inclusion. aiming to better reflect the society it serves. Judges take an oath to uphold the Constitution, to administer justice without respect to persons, and to do equal right to the poor and to the rich. This solemn promise is a reminder of the immense responsibility they bear. While the weight of the robe is heavy, it is also a symbol of hope. It represents the possibility of justice, fairness, and the rule of law prevailing. Each fair ruling restores a bit of faith in the system, reminding us that justice, though sometimes flawed, is a pursuit worth striving for. The weight of the robe is not just a burden, but a beacon. It calls upon those who wear it to rise above their human imperfections and to strive for a higher standard of justice. In doing so, they honor the trust placed in them by society and uphold the ideals upon which the legal system is built. The Sixth Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees the right to a fair trial. This amendment is a critical component of the Bill of Rights, which collectively aims to protect the fundamental liberties of individuals against potential government overreach. It is a cornerstone of our legal system, a bedrock principle that ensures every individual, regardless of guilt or innocence, receives a just and impartial hearing before a jury of their peers. This principle is designed to uphold the integrity of the judicial process, ensuring that justice is not only done, but is seen to be done. Yet the path to justice is often fraught with obstacles, and for some, the promise of a fair trial remains tragically out of reach. These obstacles can include socioeconomic barriers, racial biases, and systemic flaws that disproportionately affect marginalized communities. Take the case of Clarence Earl Gideon, a poor drifter accused of breaking into a pool hall in Florida. Gideon's story is a poignant example of how the lack of resources can impede one's ability to receive a fair trial. Unable to afford legal representation, Gideon was forced to represent himself against a seasoned prosecutor. This imbalance of power in the courtroom highlighted the inherent unfairness faced by those who cannot afford an attorney. He was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years in prison. This outcome was not just a personal tragedy for Gideon, but also a stark reminder of the broader implications of inadequate legal representation. From his prison cell, Gideon, armed with a pencil and unwavering belief in his innocence, penned a handwritten appeal to the Supreme Court. His determination and resilience in the face of adversity underscored his belief in the justice system, despite its initial failure to protect his rights. He argued that his Sixth Amendment right to counsel had been violated, that the state's failure to provide him with an attorney had denied him a fair trial. Gideon's appeal was not just about his own case, but also about the broader principle that every defendant deserves competent legal representation. The Supreme Court, recognizing the fundamental importance of Gideon's claim, agreed to hear his case. This decision marked a pivotal moment in the fight for justice and equality within the American legal system. In a landmark decision, the court overturned Gideon's conviction, ruling that the right to counsel was essential to a fair trial and that states were obligated to provide attorneys to indigent defendants. This ruling not only vindicated Gideon, but also set a precedent that would protect countless others in the future. The Gideon ruling led to the establishment and expansion of public defender offices across the country, ensuring that even those without financial means could have access to legal representation. This was a significant step towards leveling the playing field in the courtroom. However, the fight for a truly fair trial continues. Issues such as jury diversity, implicit biases, and the quality of public defense still pose challenges. Ensuring that every defendant receives a fair trial requires ongoing vigilance and commitment to justice. Advocacy groups and legal reformers continue to work tirelessly to address these issues, pushing for changes that will make the legal system more equitable. Their efforts are crucial in the ongoing quest to fulfill the promise of the Sixth Amendment. Beyond reasonable doubt, beyond reasonable justice, the pursuit of fairness in the legal system is a continuous journey. It requires the collective effort of individuals, communities, and institutions to ensure that the principles enshrined in the Constitution are upheld for all. The Fourth Amendment to the Constitution protects against unreasonable searches and seizures. It is a safeguard against government overreach, a guarantee that our homes, our property, and our person are safe from arbitrary intrusion. Yet, the war on drugs, with its emphasis on law enforcement and its erosion of civil liberties, has chipped away at this fundamental right, particularly in communities of color. Consider the case of Terrence Graham, a 16-year-old arrested for attempted robbery in Florida. It was his first offense, a youthful indiscretion, that should have resulted in probation and a chance at redemption. Instead, Graham was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The Supreme Court, in a deeply divided 5-4 decision, upheld Graham's sentence, arguing that the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment did not apply to juveniles sentenced to life without parole for non-homicide offenses. The dissenting justices were appalled, arguing that the majority's decision ignored the unique circumstances of youth and the possibility of rehabilitation. Justice John Paul Stevens, in a scathing dissent, wrote, "The court's decision turns a blind eye to the reality of childhood and the fundamental differences between children and adults.